It's all about peace and security here in Khayelihle, a very critical dialogue. As you know, that Africa is facing a myriad of conflicts, and also where you do have a humanitarian crisis. You look at the current situation in Sudan, where the country has been partitioned. You still do have the Sudanese armed forces and RSF as well engaging in a very ferocious conflict. But also you still do have the very unstable part of the DRC. But to really look at the significance of this, we do have Dr. Mthembu here with us. So Doctor, thank you so much indeed, sir, and welcome to SABC. So let's look at this engagement. And the Thabo Mbeki Foundation has been very clear to say this is not a negotiating forum, especially where we saw Congolese President Tshisekedi essentially not coming through. But just from your point of view, let's look at the importance of such dialogues and making sure that Africa is really conflict-free.
Well, I think the key point is how do you institutionalize such dialogues? How do you institutionalize and systematize diplomacy to ensure that different stakeholders from the continent have a better understanding of their own challenges, conflict challenges, the root causes of those challenges. And even though you're not necessarily in a formal negotiation platform, but the dialogue itself, I think, helps us to arrive at more feasible and more practical solutions. So bringing multiple stakeholders, some obviously will not initially participate, but I think as these processes get more institutionalized and continue to gain momentum, I think more and more stakeholders want to be part of them.
Doctor, let's look at the impact of conflict in Africa's quest for development and uplifting the Africans, making sure that we see that vision by the AU in terms of having the gun silenced and many other things. Let's look at the impact. I mean, whether you're looking at the Sahel, looking at the Horn of Africa, Somalia and many other countries, let's look at the very far-reaching implications.
Well, there's massive implications. I mean, we're in a continent which is largely a young continent demographically, in contrast to other parts of the world. That means there's growing expectations amongst young people. They want stable governments. They want functioning state apparatus. They do not want a cycle of conflict because it has a disproportionate impact. Obviously, young people, women, we know that. But the challenge is how do you overcome that? And you have to face the core fundamentals, which is development. So how do we invest more in preventing conflicts rather than reacting once conflicts have actually taken place? And I think that is where we need to find ways to channel more resources. That includes obviously mobilizing more resources domestically to invest in our development processes. And I think that is the fundamental question. It's not about military solutions. It's about tackling the root causes of conflicts, governance, people feeling disaffected, functioning electoral systems. I think that is really what is at the core.
All right, Doctor, thank you so much for that insight. Of course, Dr. Mthembu there talking about the very critical issue here in Khayelihle. And in fact, it's been really interesting observing some of the remarks by former Mozambican President Chisano talking about post-election violence, talking about making sure that the institutions are strengthened so that these elections are really reflecting the true will of the people. We saw those very horrific events in Mozambique when they had elections, very polarizing elections, but thankfully now the situation has been stabilized. Khayelihle Khumalo, SABC News, Khayelihle.